Hey everyone, Mr. Harvey here. Let's continue our lecture. We are on chapter 17, ladies and gentlemen, and today we're going to be focusing on the age of new imperialism taking place in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be focusing on some of the major causes and motives to this age of new imperialism. So let's get started. Now, really important to understand, ladies and gentlemen, before this age of new imperialism, the country that really dominated imperialism throughout the world was Great Britain, right? And we talked about this yesterday. In the early 1800s, late 1700s, all the way up until the mid 1800s, ladies and gentlemen, Great Britain was consolidating control within their crown jewel of India. They were establishing in different areas of the world, especially in Asia, that imperialism of free trade, right? Especially in China with the Opium Wars. And so Britain was a dominant was really the dominant imperial power within the world, ladies and gentlemen, prior to this new imperialism. However, as we kind of move through the 1800s, ladies and gentlemen, get close to the 1900s, we're going to see other industrial powers get involved. We're going to see some competition when it comes to imperialism, and we're going to see countries like the United States, Germany, France, we're going to see Japan get involved during this age of new imperialism and get involved in imperializing other territories. And during this time, ladies and gentlemen, during the late 1800s to early 1900s, we're going to see the West control roughly 20% of the world's land, 10% of the world's population, and really exert this unprecedented influence over the world. So that is a huge change, ladies and gentlemen. Now, really important for us when we talk about new imperialism, ladies and gentlemen, really important for us to be thinking about how new imperialism is similar and different from old imperialism. I want people to be really thinking about the skill, compare and contrast as we kind of go through new imperialism today, and just make note of some similarities that you see and some differences that you see. And I'll be commenting on some of those similarities and differences as well within this lecture. All right, so let's understand what's so new about this new imperialism. All right, and one of the first differences that's going to be a difference from new imperialism to old imperialism, ladies and gentlemen, is colonization. We're not going to see the mass colonization that we saw in old imperialism, ladies and gentlemen, during this time. We're going to see these European powers, especially, try to control non-Western lands through more political and administrative means. Now, let me kind of tell you how they do that and give you some examples. All right, so we're going to see control through means of four different kind of ways that European powers are going to exert control. We're going to see protectorates. All right, we're going to see spheres of influence, direct rule, and indirect rule. And these are the different ways that these European powers are going to kind of control their imperialized territories. So let's go through each. All right. A protectorate is where the West, ladies and gentlemen, is going to place an official to oversee the government without conquering or annexing territory. So the West is going to put someone kind of in this foreign government, and they're going to do this in the name of kind of their justification is they're going to be kind of protecting this area, and that official is going to oversee the foreign government and kind of manipulate them and pressure them to do things that the imperial country wants. The next type of administrative means we're going to see is a sphere of influence, and this is where the imperial country is going to receive special privileges, economic, legal privileges in the foreign country without direct political involvement. And we've already kind of seen that, ladies and gentlemen, especially after the Opium Wars with Great Britain and France in China. And we'll be talking more about we'll be seeing that a little bit later through this chapter and see the spheres of influence we see in Asia. Direct rule is where the foreign land is going to be ruled directly by officials from the European country. And the countries that are really going to use this type of administrative means is France, the Belgians, and Germans. And then we're also going to see, ladies and gentlemen, indirect rule, where local leaders are going to be left in charge but are going to answer to the colonial power. Okay, so you're going to see local leaders will be left in charge, but they are going to have to kind of do what the colonial power, what the imperial power wants them to do. All right. Another difference that we're going to be seeing, ladies and gentlemen, is that this age of new imperialism is going to occur over a very brief period of time as opposed to old imperialism, and we're going to see a lot of new countries be getting involved within this age of new imperialism. Germany, Belgium, the United States, and Japan are going to be some of the new countries that are going to be getting involved within this. All right. Another difference that we're going to see, ladies and gentlemen, and change is we're going to see few settlers or immigrants to imperialized lands. The Westerners really, their goal was to govern and really exploit these areas in different ways, and we're going to be seeing that. But there's less, settling and immigrant communities to these imperialized lands. Let's continue. Another difference we're going to see is where this is going down. In old imperialism, a lot of the focus for that imperialism, especially among among European countries, was the Americas. That was really the epicenter of imperialism, old imperialism. With new imperialism, our two epicenters are really going to be Africa and Asia. Africa is really going to be a focus of this new imperialism, but we'll also see it in Asia as well. And really important for us to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that the imperialism that we're going to see in Africa, and that will be in the next lecture, a later lecture, is really going to be just terrible, and really destabilize the region and determine a lot of the geopolitical lines that we see today. We're really going to see Europe just kind of carve up Africa and just kind of remake Africa to fit their own vision. And we'll be talking about that, especially later on in this class, about the devastating effects that this imperialism is going to be having on Africa. All right, but as we have talked about, we're not just going to see Africa be a focus of imperialism. Asia is going to be a focus for the European countries when it comes to imperialism. And as we can see in this picture, this is Teddy Roosevelt in the United States building the Panama Canal. And manipulating kind of the affairs regarding the Panama Canal. We're going to see new countries be getting involved within imperialism. Japan, the United States, Germany, among those new countries. All right, let's talk about some of the major motives, ladies and gentlemen, for new imperialism and some of the major causes. All right. Now, some figures, ladies and gentlemen, like Hobson, are going to contend that capitalist economies were overproducing, which caused manufacturers and business to press governments into finding new markets for goods. So a lot of thinkers are going to be, there's going to be a lot of thinkers kind of contemplating some of the various motives for new imperialism. Vladimir Lenin believed that imperialism represented kind of the last stage, the last gasp of capitalism, and that countries were running out of profits to make in their home countries, and so they had to move on to other countries to make a profit. But neither of these thinkers was really right. And there's a variety of motives for new imperialism that we're going to be going through. Many European countries actually, ladies and gentlemen, didn't invest the majority of their money or capital in new territories, but actually in older, more established states like the United States. And the only truly obvious colony that we're going to be seeing is Britain's India. And actually, for some countries, ladies and gentlemen, like Germany and Italy, who are going to be getting involved, an empire wasn't really necessarily profitable. So there's, and we're going to talk about, so there's a variety of motives and causes for new imperialism, ladies and gentlemen. And the key idea that I want you all to understand is it's not necessarily just based on economics. Yes, economics is a motive, is a cause, but there are other causes that are really important for us to understand as well. Okay, so very important for us to understand that economic motives are not, there are economic motives. That's absolutely 100% important for us to understand. However, there are other motives for us to understand and be aware of as well. Okay, so let's talk about some of these other motives, ladies and gentlemen, for new imperialism. One of these motives, ladies and gentlemen, at the time of imperialism, social Darwinism is going to be a motive, and social Darwinist groups are going to justify imperialism as a civilizing mission. And so we're going to see some of these groups, some of these countries believe it is their duty to bring higher culture to whom they consider backwards people or inferior people. And we've talked about this, especially with science, right? With some of those advances in science that we talked about in the previous chapter. We're going to see a lot of European countries feel like it is their duty, the white man's burden, to bring culture to different areas of the world and to who they deem as inferior people. All right, we're going to see, and this is a similarity from old imperialism, religion. religious groups are going to really want to spread Christianity. And so that is going to be very similar to what we saw within the Age of Exploration. It's very similar to what we saw, ladies and gentlemen, with old imperialism. Religion is going to be a really important motive and cause for new imperialism. Some historians and some thinkers have suggested that imperialism is going to be used to attract attention away from some of the social policies, some of the social things that are going on in Europe, like housing, some of the social problems, right? Some of the social reforms that need to be taken care of that aren't being taken care of. So some suggest that imperialism was kind of a way to distract the public away from some of the social problems in Europe. However, there's really three main motives that are really going to strongly influence imperial policies of major European nations, and I want to go through each. Okay, number one was having colonies was seen as a necessary, ladies and gentlemen, characteristic of being considered a great European power. So if you want to be considered a great power, you need to have colonies, and that was kind of the thinking during this time. France believed new colonies, would restore their prestige after the unification of Germany and their loss in the Franco-Prussian War. Very similar. Russia was very similar to Crimea. Italy believed that colonies would prove that it was legitimate, that it was a legitimate power. Belgium's going to kind of feel the same way. So really important for us to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that notion of having colonies was seen as being a characteristic of being a great power. Two is the decay of the Ottoman Empire, that Eastern question. Europeans are going to be jockeying for a territory that is going to be lost by the Ottoman Empire during this time, ladies and gentlemen. And there's also a general strategic interest in Africa and Asia, and we're definitely going to be looking at that as we discuss, as we kind of go through the map and look at the areas of where Europe is going to be, these European countries are going to be going. And there's a strategic interest within Africa and the East. Moreover, many governments, ladies and gentlemen, found themselves at the mercy of individuals in the colonies that are going to be making decisions without the authorization of the government. We will be talking about that. And that's often going to lead to the government responses and involvement in affairs, and we'll be seeing that. We've already kind of seen that in India, right? And after the Sepoy Rebellion, the crown is going to have to kind of take control after we saw kind of all that dismay with private companies interfering in, especially the East India Company interfering in India, and the crown kind of having to take control of that whole situation. We're going to see that happen again, ladies and gentlemen, within new imperialism. All right, let's stop here for today, ladies and gentlemen. We will be talking and specifically focusing on imperialism in Africa in the next lecture. Thank you so much.